Hey everybody, it's cold water bass fishing time. In this episode, we're going to catch a few fish, and I'm going to give you 3 tips to help you in November, December, January for cold water bass fishing. Stay tuned. Chain Flint Outdoors, brought to you by Omnia Fishing. Experience the most personalized tackle shopping on earth. And by MMA Fishing, fight the bite. And by Lead Time Batteries, the ultimate power solution for your boating needs. What a big girl! It's a cold day on the 25th of November. In this episode, I'm going to give you some tips on how to locate wintertime bass. As well, at the end, we'll talk about the reasons we were successful in this episode. Let's get right to the catching. There we go. First bass of the day on the underspin. It's a cold November morning. Cold November morning here, folks. It is at least 14, 15 incher. Nice to find one. It is about 34 degrees outside. You can see they got the smoke on the water. Water temperature's about 50. And these bass are down about 15 to 18 feet of water. And that's the first one we got to bite today. So we're just now getting out on the lake. Cold morning for bass fishing, but it's all great when you get one. The most common question I get when it comes to wintertime bass fishing is, where do you fish? How deep do you fish? And what type of structure are you going to fish for wintertime bassing? Well, here's a few tips that can help you out. So 3 areas I would tell you to concentrate when you're fishing in cold water. When it's November, December, January, 3 good places to fish. One is a riprap. Bass tend to go to ripraps because bait fish congregate around a riprap if you got one in your lake, or if you just got a really good rocky shore, because that water warms up. The rocks warm up from the sun, the bait fish come in, it attracts the bass because the bait fish are there. So a good area to focus on is ripraps. Second, your deep lake points. When the vegetation is dying, and the bass move out away from the vegetation, deeper on the points that you catch fish on in the summertime or the fall, still going to produce a lot of fish. And then another place that I would focus on, if you do have rock piles in your lake, deep rock structure, like I have some rocky areas in this lake, rocky areas, period, just like ripraps, if you have a congregation of boulders or a real good rocky shore, another good place to catch bass, because again, heats up faster, bait fish come in. Hard cover is always good, right? Year round, you're gonna catch fish in hard cover, trees, stumps, whatever type of debris that might be in the lake. So focus on that. When the vegetation dies off, it'll help you catch a lot more fish in the cold water. There's another one. Look at the size of that crappie. Holy cow. Look at the size of that crappie. That's a big slab crappie right there. Nice big slab crappie. So people are always asking if there's any crappie in this lake here at Lake Mooney. There's some big ones in here. Nice big one. Thank you, Mr. Crappie. I mentioned smoke on the water earlier, but what I was referring to was the fog. In this clip, this was 2 days prior to this episode that you're watching, and the fog was super, super thick. So thick that I couldn't get my camera to focus. But I was utilizing the same techniques that I was utilizing in this episode, and I caught about 18 bass. But the fog was super, super thick, but the fishing was great. Oh, yeah. Very next cast, get a nice 2.5 pound. Nice little tank. There we go. Good one. Come on up here, buddy. A nice 2.5 pounder here. Yeah. Thank you, buddy. 17 feet of water. I'm just straight off here, off the edges. 17 feet of water. Another nice bass. It's still cold, but you know, if you're gonna catch fish in November, it's gonna be cold. So, and underspin is what I'm throwing right now. Tennessee shad colored Crush City, Rapala Crush City freeloader. Used it before, been a pretty good bait for me. And the reason I'm liking this underspinner, well, A, they're biting it, but I'm able to keep it down in the strike zone a long time. So I let it sink for about, 4 or 5 seconds, and then slowly, bounce my rod tip and slowly reel it in. It keeps that bait down in the strike zone for a good long time. Because they are just, they're laying pretty close to the bottom in 15, 16 foot of water. And they don't want to see, I ran a crankbait through past them. They don't like a crankbait, they don't want a jerkbait. This is what they're biting on. You have to do some experiment in this cold water. When it gets cold like this, some days they'll jump on a crankbait, some days they'll jump on a jerkbait, and then some days they want it slow. We talked about location earlier, of where to find cold water bass. I have this inlet that comes into this lake, which is very unique. But a lot of lakes have creeks and streams and tributaries that have water flowing into them. So if you get a rain in the wintertime, especially if it's a warm rain, or you have a lot of melt-off and the lake's not frozen, that's a great place to go look for fish. You're going to get a lot of bait fish in those areas, and the bass are going to be right by the bait fish. There's one. Nice one. Probably gonna need a net. Oh yeah, that's more than a nice one. Oh yeah, that's a 5-6 pounder. Nice one there. At least 5.5 pounds. Let's weigh him up real quick. Can't go wrong when you catch big bass like that. Let's weigh him up. 5.17. So just over a 5 pounder. Nice big fat mooney bass. Can't go wrong with that guy. We'll let him go. Nice big bass. He's gonna jump. There he goes. Here's another one. Oh, that's a nice pig there too. Oh, that's a nice 3.5 pounder. Come here, buddy. Come here. That's a nice one. About 3. Can't complain about that guy. Down there in about 15 foot of water. Appreciate you. There's some hard cover down there that they like to hang out on. Just bringing it through that hard cover. I just broke off one of my credges in there, and that credge is a good bait this time of year, but not a good bait around hard cover. Hey everybody, that's gonna do it for today. Caught 9 bass, I think, in about 3.5 hours, which is okay. That's not a bad day of fishing. The key today, 3 keys for fishing this cold weather, right? A, find bait fish. Found bait fish, we found bass. 2, stay away from the vegetation. The vegetation is dying off. This is late November, it's turning brown, and the bass are not around that dying vegetation. So you stay away from the vegetation, you find the bait fish, you're gonna catch fish. Now the other thing that I did today was I slowed down and I fished deep. I'm fishing 15 to 18 feet of water. And I couldn't get them on a crankbait, I couldn't get them on a jerkbait. I get them to rise up, but they wouldn't commit. They'd only commit to this underspin today. Now, every day is different. You never know what that bait's gonna be, but slowing down and fishing this down deeper in the water column, away from all that dying vegetation, was what was key today. So when you're out here fishing this time of year, November, December, even into January, slowing it down, fishing a little deeper, looking for the bait fish, and a bait fish profile bait, be it a jerk bait, be it a crank bait or an underspin or spinner bait. Have that bait fish profile, find the bait fish, stay away from that dying vegetation, especially this time of year, and you'll have a successful day of fishing. Well, hey everybody, thanks for tuning in, and until next time, tight lines and have fun fishing.